Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we're diving into something called DePIN. It's this really new way of thinking about building the physical stuff our world runs on. Everything from wireless networks to energy grids. And it's using a pretty radical new model to do it. But, before we get into all that, let's start with a question. A question that really gets right to the heart of a huge weakness in our digital world. What happens when the systems we rely on every single day have just one critical point of failure? Well, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. This actually happened. Back in July 2023, a storm in the Netherlands took out a single fiber optic cable. Just one cable. And what happened? For almost 13 hours, Microsoft's cloud services across Western Europe were just crippled. This one little point of failure caused this massive chain reaction, and it really revealed a fundamental flaw in how our modern world is built. It just goes to show you how fragile, how brittle these centralized systems can be. Yeah, so that whole incident, it's the perfect example of this bigger problem with how we've built, everything. We've created these huge, top-down infrastructures that are super powerful for sure, but they're also incredibly brittle. So the model we're all used to today, it's pretty much dominated by just a handful of giant tech companies. And that creates these single points of failure, like the one we just talked about. But the problems, they go way deeper. These companies create what's called vendor lock-in. They use their own special tools and hit you with these crazy egress fees if you ever try to move your data. It makes switching providers just incredibly expensive. Then you have the central gatekeepers who can decide to censor content or just kick people off their platforms without any warning. And on top of all that, there's the environmental cost. These massive data centers are so thirsty, they consume millions of liters of water and put a huge strain on local power grids. It's a lot. But what if there was a totally different way to do this, right? What if we could build these essential networks from the ground up with no single point of failure and no central company in charge? Well, that brings us right to the core idea of DePIN. So DePIN. It stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but the idea is pretty simple, actually. It completely flips the traditional corporate model on its head. So instead of one big company building everything, DePIN uses blockchain and crypto tokens as rewards to get individuals, people like you and me, to chip in with our own hardware and resources. It's infrastructure that is truly, genuinely owned and operated by the people who use it. And this chart? It just lays out the difference perfectly. We're moving away from a world of corporate ownership, single points of failure, and what's called permissioned access, where you need a company's blessing just to participate. And we're moving to the DePIN model. Here you get collective ownership, crazy high resilience because the network is spread out everywhere, and permissionless participation. Anyone can join in and contribute. And that, of course, creates real competition and helps drive down costs for everybody. Okay, so the big question, right? How in the world do these networks actually get built without some giant corporation pouring billions and billions of dollars into them? Well, the answer is in this really, really clever economic model that creates its own self-sustaining growth engine. It's all powered by something called the DePIN flywheel. And this is a fascinating economic engine. It all starts when regular people contribute hardware, say a wireless hotspot, and in return, they earn token rewards. Now, as more people join in, the network's coverage and its power just grow and grow. This better service starts attracting actual users and customers, which drives up demand for that token. And here's the magic part. As the token's value goes up, it creates an even stronger incentive for more people to contribute hardware. And the wheel just spins faster and faster. This completely turns the whole traditional venture capital model upside down. Instead of needing billions of dollars to build the infrastructure up front, DePIN networks use these tokens to build both the supply side and the demand side at the exact same time. It all grows organically from the community up. And listen, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. DePIN is already out there in the real world, powering actual infrastructure all across the globe. It's creating these community-driven alternatives to some of the biggest companies you can think of. So let's take Helium, for example. It's one of the best-known DePIN projects out there. And as their COO, Scott Siegel, puts it, the whole idea is to empower people to build the wireless coverage they actually want, right where they are. And you know what? They've actually done it. By giving people an incentive to run these small hotspots in their homes and offices, Helium has built a network of nearly 1 million devices. This has created the largest LoRaWAN network in the entire world. And that's a type of long-range, low-power network that's perfect for connecting small stuff like sensors and trackers. And now they're even expanding into 5G mobile service. It's incredible. And it goes way beyond just wireless. DePIN projects are popping up to tackle some of the biggest centralized services out there. You've got Filecoin, for instance, which is taking on Amazon's cloud storage by letting people rent out their unused hard drive space. Then there's HiveMapper, which is basically crowdsourcing a global map to compete with Google Maps, using data from dash cams in people's cars. And networks like Akash are creating a marketplace for all that computing power that AI needs, pooling together unused GPUs from data centers and even from individuals all over the world. So let's look at the road ahead. Let's see where this is all going, because this is definitely not a niche market anymore. DePIN is showing some serious signs of explosive growth and, real mainstream potential. I mean, just look at these numbers. In the span of a single year, the total market cap of all DePIN projects surged over 300%. It jumped from just over $3 billion to nearly $12 billion. That is a massive signal of growing interest and some serious investment flowing into this space. So where's all this growth coming from? This is what's really fascinating. The charge is being led by the most capital-intensive sectors. We're talking AI, compute, and wireless networks. Together, they make up the huge majority of the market. And what that tells us is that DePIN isn't just a cool niche idea. It's actively solving real, expensive infrastructure problems that we have right now. But, of course, the road ahead isn't going to be perfectly smooth. DePIN faces some pretty significant challenges. For one, can these networks really scale to handle millions of users without sacrificing performance? And what about regulators? How are they going to treat these new models? And maybe the most important question of all, can these projects become simple enough for everyday folks, not just crypto experts, to actually use them and contribute? So here's the big takeaway. DePIN really represents a fundamental shift. It's a move away from these closed, corporate-controlled systems and towards open, community-owned infrastructure. And it leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. What if the devices we already own, our routers, our computers, maybe even our cars, could become the building blocks for a more resilient, more efficient, and a more democratic world?